The max coach level in College Football 26 is now level 100, which gives us a lot more freedom of where to spend our skill points, but also gives us a lot of freedom to poorly spend them and build a very bad coach that will not be very effective for online or offline dynasties. So with that being said, we're going to go over the best coach skills in College Football 26 Dynasty mode. Let's get into it. All right, so starting with number 5, it's got to be recruiter. Just the base recruiter set is something we have to work towards. I'm only putting it number 5 because it did get a pretty decent nerf this year, but we still need to work through recruiter so we can unlock the elite recruiter. You need 2 top 5 recruiting classes. This can vary in difficulty based on who you're playing as, whether you're playing an online dynasty, offline dynasty, but we want to get those increased weekly hours. It is very expensive though this year. You see that they are locked away behind not only the elite recruiter, but they're also in the tier 4. So this is going to take a pretty good amount of time and effort to unlock. But once you get that, you're going to see yourself very much jump ahead in the recruiting battles. So start there. Recruiter is something you want to work on as early as possible. Something to keep in mind that one of the best recruiting skills now got moved to the CEO tier. The additional interest for every 10 hours spent. This was broken last year. It was so strong. Anyone that didn't use this really fell behind, which is probably why they moved it to the CEO. Because now you need to spend 200 points in any archetype, and you got to win 2 national championships. So if you're playing online dynasty, I mean, there's a really strong case that unless you're a very skilled player, you may never even get to this. Last year, I played in 8+ seasons of online dynasties, 9, 10, and I always made the playoffs, got really close to the national championship, but I was only able to get it done one time in the online dynasty. It's very hard, even with good teams. You just have to beat out other players, and this is college football, anything can happen. So this will kind of come down to you of how skilled of a player you are, but you definitely want to work towards this if you can. Again, if you're an offline player, it might be a little bit easier for you. Now let's move into number 4, Tactician. This is for you online dynasty guys. If you're playing offline, this is really only applicable if you are playing every single game. So I don't know if I could find the exact piece from the Dynasty deep dive, but they said that if you are winning football games, playing games, and winning them, that Tactician has the highest potential of Coach XP possible. As you can see, the archetype bonus has 450 bonus experience for every single win. So if you're winning consistently, Tactician is actually probably the best and fastest way to level up your coach. The only problem is the actual boost in here are not amazing. I actually do like the Elite Tactician quite a bit. These are all nice, but they're just boost consistently across the board. And they're pretty small. They're nothing substantial. I do think they're pretty useful if you're playing every single game. Elite Tactician's pretty good. I do like things like, let me find it. Like this, the increased to crowd noise and the decrease whenever you're playing on the road. That's all really important, especially with the stadium pulse being even stronger this year. I also like this one a ton, the pass game defense, the increased knockout chance on passes. But this is more so if you're playing every single game, which I know a lot of people do not play every game. Maybe you're simming games, sometimes simming whole seasons. But this one's very good for your online players or for the people playing every game because the potential for the coach experience is way higher than anywhere else. As an honorable mention, let's talk about Architect real quick. I don't think it's like a must-have, but the skill caps are much more intense this year, so having that tier 3 to increase a skill cap is pretty cool. Plus, if you're winning consistently, that tier 4 and chance to increase your best skill cap with a conference or national title. So this may take away your speed cap. It may take away like your best stat for your player. So I think the Arcta is worth a mention. I wouldn't pour like tons and tons of points in this. If there's a certain position you care about more than others, like say you want to affect your whole wide receiver group, maybe that's a decent spot. That's why we're just putting this as an honorable mention. Kind of up to you. It does have its uses, and it may be even stronger than last year, which if it is, then it may deserve a spot on this list. But the game's just not been out long enough to really test this, but it is something to keep in mind to maybe use your points on. All right, number 3 is Motivator. This one is very, very good. If you are a rebuild first player, you like to hop on a bad team and really develop them. So first of all, you do get an interest boost for your recruits whenever a current player hits a skill cap. That's decent, nothing crazy. Something I do like is tier 2. And obviously, we'll get into tier 3 in just a second. But tier 2, your players will stay hot through timeouts, quarter change, and across games. This is really impactful now because whenever your player gets hot, not only are their attributes going up, but their abilities are going up as well. Abilities are more scarce this year, so getting those boosted from, I mean, game to game, timeouts, all of that, that is really, really nice to have. That means your players are getting boosted from, say, gold to platinum, platinum to Heisman tier. So I think this is going to be even better than it was last year. But then obviously, here's the biggest piece of this. Tier 3, your players get an off-season training boost. That is massive, especially with manual progression if you do choose to use that. I mean, you have full control of how you're spending all of these extra points you're getting. So I think that Motivator is going to be one of your best friends for the small schools in the rebuilds. And it's even good for the big schools as well, because I mean, you still need to develop your players, still need to give them some nice training boost. I don't think Motivator will ever go out of style, and it's very useful for online or offline. So I used it a ton on the last Dynasty I played in last year on 25, and I saw a pretty nice boost on all my players whenever I started to get that tier 3, get those off-season training boosts. My players would sometimes jump from, say, 81 to 86, 87. Maybe without it, they would go to 84 or 85. So those extra overalls really mean a lot for the players. Some of that might be placebo, some of it might be randomness, but I do think it's worth spending a good chunk of your points to at least get to that tier 3. Number 2 is a combo, because these are both in-game coach skills that you want to have if you get there. CEO and program builder. Let's start with the CEO, just because there's such great things in this tree. First of all, one of the best ones probably in the entire game, gains getter. So you have an increased chance that your player will upgrade their dev trait. So if you weren't familiar with it, you can now upgrade your dev traits on your players if they play and perform well during the season. So being able to have a higher chance of getting that boost, super valuable. It's really hard to get around that. That's just something you want to have if you can get it. And then we have the lasting impression. We talked about this earlier. You really want to get that additional interest for every 10 hours spent. One of my favorite skills from last year in my long-term dynasties was the Dream School. This is insane. I don't know what the percentages were, but it would greatly increase your chances of getting that insta-commit on a player when they had you as their top school. It was possible to get it without. Whenever you turn this on, there was a few times where I would go through and offer, say, 30 players that had me at first a scholarship, and I would sometimes get anywhere from like 5 to 12 plus players that would insta-commit. It was extremely broken last year. I don't know if it'll be that good this year. And again, there's always the random chance that maybe you get less, maybe you get more. That's kind of part of the recruiting. But this was one of those skills that people kind of slept on. I don't think there was many people talking about it. If they did, I guess I missed it. But Dream School, very good skill to work towards. All right, so for the program builder, this one's a little bit easier to achieve than the CEO. Obviously, 5 playoff games if you're an online dynasty is still not a cakewalk, but it's definitely easier than 2 natties. So let's start with my favorite part of the program builder. It's the inside track. Just the tier 1, earn 25% more experience from all completed goals. You're always completing these coach goals, even though you may not always be paying attention or see it. So getting more experience from that to level up your coach faster, super nice. But the kicker here is these 2 trees here. So your pipelines are arguably the most important part of your school. It's how you get recruits, it's how you keep players, it's how you develop players. So being able to give boost to your bad pipelines and your good pipelines, super cool. So like tier 1, tier 2, it says upgrade your school's best 2 pipelines by 1 tier, your school's best 5 pipelines by 1 tier, and then at the bottom, it upgrades your school's 5 worst pipelines by 1 tier. So this just increases your school so strongly, and it just gives you a nice boost for recruits, development, everything else. And then same thing, strong roots, boost to your primary pipeline, increased starting interest for your primary pipeline, and the recruits from your primary pipeline will gain extra influence boost. Also, pipeline being said multiple times in 30 seconds is brutal. Brutal. Never doing it again. Anyways, program builder, very nice strong point to put your coach skills into. Now let's move on to number 1. So obviously, if I started off the video talking about you needing to go recruiter to unlock elite recruiter, you probably could have guessed that it's going to be number 1 in the video. Elite recruiter, despite the nerfs, it's still going to be the most important part of the game. If you're not pulling in good players, you're not going to win games. And in turn, you're going to get worse and worse recruits as the system goes on. So Elite Recruiter still is a must. Obviously, it is more expensive now. It is 12 skill points as opposed to, I believe it was 8 last year. But the increased weekly recruiting hours, if you're the first person to get that in your online dynasty, or if you're one of the first people to get that in your offline dynasty, doesn't matter. The recruiting is going to be a cakewalk for you. The recruiting actions at tier 3 giving a bigger impact, school grades having a larger impact, a boost to your ideal pitch grades, all of that stuff just means more and more recruits coming to your school, winning more games, developing into more talented players. Elite Recruiter will probably always be the top skill in these games unless they just ever add something that's just so mind-numbingly broken. It's just hard to top Recruiter. I mean, that's just the biggest part of college football. You're pulling in the best players, you're going to win more football games. So Elite Recruiter, still number one, will probably stay number one for a long time, but there at least is a little more competition this year. There's definitely more case to actually spend your points elsewhere as well, but I think you've still got to build towards the Elite Recruiter. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more College Ball 26 content coming very, very soon. And leave a comment down below and let me know your favorite coach skill or if there's one you think that should be on this list. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. It's Real Jev, and I'm out.